ingredients that we need for the Welsh beef steak with a Penderyn whiskey and cream sauce are some local sirloin steaks, which are going to be rubbed with a little bit of oil and then seasoned with salt and pepper. And then we'll be deglazing the pan with some Penderyn Welsh whiskey, finished with beef stock and tea tanglwyst cream. So I'm going to start off. I've got sirloin steak here, but you can use any cut of steak. You could use rump, you could use ribeye or sirloin. You can source Welsh beef steaks from a number of producers in rural Bridgend, such as C&G Morgan & Sons, Maddock Cembury or T Talgarth Organics. Now, to prepare your steak, I'm going to oil the surface. Just rub a little bit of oil on both sides. There we are. Then we're going to season with a little bit of sea salt and black pepper on both sides and press it in. That's it. It is important that these steaks must be at room temperature before you start cooking them. So we're now heating a pan so it's really nice and hot before you put the steak in and before you put any oil in. So you can, if you just hold your hand above the pan, you can feel that this is getting really nice and hot now. So we're going to turn the temperature down to about medium, just a little bit, and then ready to put the steak in. Now, what's really important is that you seal both sides of the steak. So you don't move it in between. For about a rare steak, we would say about 2 minutes either side. For medium rare, 3 minutes either side. For medium, 4 minutes either side. And for well done, 5 to 6 minutes either side. That also depends, of course, on the thickness of the steak. The thicker the steak, the longer it will take to cook. If the steak is thinner, then it will take a shorter time. Try not to use a fork while you're turning it because you're going to pierce the steak and release all those lovely juices. So try to either use a spatula or tongs. And then press it back down so you're going to seal the other side. Okay, once the steak is ready, we want to take it out of the pan and leave it on a warmed plate and leave that to rest. That's really important because all the juices from the steak will go back into the steak and be kept and make a really nice juicy steak. So it's really important you leave it to relax for at least about 5 minutes. While that's relaxing, we can make the sauce. So for the sauce, we're going to use a whiskey, Penderyn whiskey as the base, and then we're going to add some tea tanglwyst cream and some beef stock. So in the pan, we've got some residue from cooking the steak. It's really important that you don't get rid of this because all the lovely flavours are still in the pan and we want to retain these flavours to add to the steak. So we're going to add the whiskey. So you can flame this now by just tipping the pan and catching flame like that. And that will flame the whiskey. So to the whiskey, we're going to add some good beef stock and bring it to the boil. So you want to reduce this now by about a half. Make sure it's bubbling and simmering away just like this. Reduce it by a half before we add the cream. Now it's reduced, we're ready to add the tea tanglwyst cream. There we are. Give it a little mix. And then we'll reduce it again until it starts thickening and it's quite syrupy. So bring it back to the boil. Also here, in the meantime, your steak will have been relaxing and you can see from the steak There's some juices that have just been released, so we're going to add that back to the sauce as well. For a different type of sauce, you could add some whole grain mustard, or you could add whole peppercorns to make a black peppercorn sauce. You could also add some mushrooms, some sliced mushrooms to cook through the sauce. Rather than whiskey, you could use red wine. So there are lots and lots of different variations on this basic sauce. Another thing you could do is add blue cheese, such as perlas, just crumbled in. That would make a really nice, rich, creamy sauce. So to present your steaks rare, medium or well done, the best way to distinguish the differences is really by prodding them or pressing them and feeling the steak. So for a rare steak like this one here, there'll be quite a lot of give in it and it'll be bouncing back and forth. So it'll be quite soft to the touch like this one. And then for a medium one, it'll be slightly firmer, so there'll be some resistance there. But not completely firm, whereas the well done steak will be much firmer and no resistance at all, so it'll be, you know, really firm and quite hard to the touch. So to make homemade hand-cut chips, prepare your potatoes, peel them obviously and cut them into chip sizes like these. The best potatoes to use for chips are something like a King Edward or a Maris Piper, and these are available and grown locally in Bridgend. These chips have been boiled for about 5 minutes, are blanched and then stopped cooking immediately, and these are now ready to start frying. It's really important that the oil is at the correct temperature before you start frying the chips. And try and cook in small batches, because the more chips you put in, this will lower the temperature, so obviously it will affect the finished product. So the chips have now reached a lovely golden colour, just like this, so you're ready to take them out of the frying oil. So straight onto kitchen paper to drain them from the oil, get rid of any of the oil, so we don't want to serve greasy chips. And at this stage you could, if you wanted to, sprinkle a little bit of Hallenmore and Anglesey sea salt over them. So we're ready to serve our steak with the chips on the side here. It's really important, of course, for your customer to make it look presentable. So we're going to garnish the plate with maybe a few cherry tomatoes, or you could roast some tomatoes on the vine, maybe a nice bunch of fresh watercress or a salad garnish, and then serve the sauce separately in a boat, or you can just pour some of the sauce over the steak. And there you have it, Welsh beef steak with Penderyn whiskey and cream sauce.